So what exactly is WaveMaker? WaveMaker is a platform, it's a rapid application delivery platform for building, multi-channel web apps, be it a responsive web application which can be, which can render itself beautifully in any kind of device with different form factors, or a purely native mobile application or a hybrid mobile application which can actually be installed into your Windows or an iOS phone or an Android-based phones. All these things can be speeded up and done much more faster and efficiently, more importantly, with very less dependency on skilled technical talent. So how do we do it? This is where the actual question comes in. So MVC has been our guiding post. I don't want to get into the details of what is a model view and a controller. This is more or less, it's been in existence. This philosophy has been in existence for a very long time. And this has been our guiding force. Like, what we typically do is here, like, we actually try to address if we can speed up things on a model. A model typically represents things like database, data stores, APIs these days, and raw storage of data, whatever form it may be in. A view is the presentation layer, like, how the end user UI, how the UI presents itself to the end user. It could be the user interface, it could be user experience itself. How do we speed up? This has been, if a rapid application development platform can target speeding up of things on the model and getting things done faster in the presentation layer, which is the view, and somehow get them connected through the controllers, we got a real solution in hand which can which can actually get things done much more faster. So this is where we come in. So what does a typical application architecture looks like, right? Like, it typically looks like this. You'll have excuse me, you have a data access layer, which is a DB. It has a services layer where it needs to integrate with either internal or external applications, which is the bottommost layer. You see that. Then there are these REST APIs, which actually are that's some kind of a connection layer which connects the model along with the UI layer on the top. And there are other subsidiary actions like the release management, extension, security, deployments, and other things which actually needs to be on top of the app. So it's the entire delivery aspects of the architecture. So let's see, this is how an architecture of an enterprise app looks like, or any business grade app looks like, and how do we handle that? So I'm splitting how we handle each of these layers of an app architecture using WaveMaker, and I'm trying to bring them into the purview of the MVC guiding philosophy that I told you before. So model, database. How can easily create a data model, be it a schema, be it an entity relationship diagram, anything like that, or how do I easily out of the box integrate with an existing database schema or a set of schemas? That's one thing. The second is these days APIs, be it consumer APIs or enterprise APIs, are the thing. Like, the APIs are all over the place these days. So how do I easily out of the box interactively integrate with APIs, web services, anything out of the box, and quickly use that and consume that into an application? This is where the model comes into picture. And then of course the REST APIs themselves. The application, your application should not just consume APIs and web services into itself, but it should also be ready to expose its APIs to the external world for consumption. And how, for that, you have to create the APIs first. Who will do that? So the application should be automatically enabled for creation of these APIs. And that's why we call it as the API driven development, and also comes into the model layer. Then comes the view or the presentation layer. How do I quickly create a user experience that's going to be that's going to be appealing to the end user? How am I going to create an application which is going to adapt to the different form factors of the devices in which the application is going to be used? That's where the view comes into picture. And finally, the controller is nothing but how do I easily and interactively and visually bind these model and views. When I say binding, what it means is I create a controller which takes data from the model layer or the database and gives the data to the view, let's say a grid in the UI, and renders it in the UI. That's the job of the controller. All these things have to be done easily and visually. And of course, like, there are more things on top of that. There is enterprise grade security, extensible code, one-click testing and deployment. How do I, easily do all these things? This is where, like, this is what WaveMaker does for you. It eases, it makes your job much more easier. You don't have to code everything and as it used to be earlier. This is the modern age rapid application delivery platform, which can get things done for you at a pace which is never heard of before. So with that in mind, let's jump into what exactly a WaveMaker platform offers to you. The first thing is the rapid app development. You can build your app. It's not anymore develop your apps. You can build your app visually. So this is the way where you create your presentation layer. Like, you drag and drop the UI components into the canvas, which is what you see is what you get canvas. How do I, as and when I'm building my UI on my application, I want to instantly test it, see how it will present itself to the end user. That's called as the instant test, which is the left top call out that you're going to see. One-click deployment. It's like, once I'm done with the app, I want to easily deploy this app. I don't want to get into the hassles of provisioning, provisioning a machine, installing all the software stack that is needed, creating the WAR file, doing the configurations. All those things should be instantly available for me. How do I get things done? Security. As I told you, an app without a security is nothing. Like, so how do I do a configurable security here? I don't want to do, get a JAS login module here. How do I instantly create a login screen for you? And then, of course, the UI and other things that you can actually see it on the screen. All these things can be done visually. No coding is involved. If there is some extension, probably a little bit of minimum coding can always be brought in anytime. Open standard stack. So, like, it's not just like, one of the biggest problems with, like, the rapid application development platforms is, like, you get locked into proprietary technology. The vendor lock-in is a big issue in this world, but WaveMaker wants it to be very clean and neat here. We basically make use of proven open source standards. Spring, Tomcat, Hibernate, Angular, and Cordova recently for our mobile application development. Everything is out there. We generate the code for you. You are free to use the auto-generated code, and you can actually take it into your own editor, like an IDE like Eclipse or IntelliJ. Do your customizations on top of it. It's absolutely no vendor lock-in anytime. Delivery lifecycle. And of course, we use a technology called Bootstrap, which will automatically make sure that the UI that we generate is automatically rendered in any devices with any form factors. More recently, we have also delved into the world of hybrid mobile application development. So you don't necessarily have to access your apps from a web browser in the case of a responsive web app. These days, what we can do is you can actually create a mobile application that can be installed into your mobile as well. And we support iOS, Windows, and Android based applications, hybrid applications. We have a beautiful a database designer where you can actually see how your tables and entities are represented using a UI diagram and entity relationship diagram. You can create tables, you can add columns, you can import your existing database. All these things can be done. We support Oracle, almost all the RDBMS vendors out there. We don't, which is out there right now. So MySQL, Postgres, Microsoft SQL Server, everything is supported from our end. As I told you, it's not just enough that you consume your APIs and web services easily in your application. You also need to create your APIs. So what we do is, like, as and when you create your application, you build your application, each and every service out there, be it a database that you got imported into your system, or you create your own custom Java classes inside your application, or the security service, all these services are automatically exposed. Of course, you can control how much exposure you want, whether to be in the app only or like externally as well. Or we create APIs, REST APIs that can automatically access these data that are presented by these services, so that at any future point of time, create another app that you want to access, let's say a database services that is being created using this application 1, and app 2 wants to access it, the auto-generated APIs actually do it for you. For all the database entities, we create CRUD-based APIs that you can reuse, and it can be reused across any different applications that you want. And of course, there is you can collaborate with more than one user. WaveMaker during the initial days used to be a single developer application. It's not anymore. We actually support version control systems where you can actually check in and you can collaborate with multiple developers. Right now, we support all these GitHubs and stashes, Bitbuckets and SVN if there is an enterprise version. Most of these well-known open source vendors are actually automatically supported by us. I already talked about security, where you can actually see the UI here, where if you want a login authentication screen, you just have to click a button and we actually have your login screen ready automatically. We support different security. Get your login credentials from a database, an LDAP, an Active Directory, a CAS, or any other system that you are actually using. We don't restrict any kind of login authentication providers. And of course, there is an authorization where, excuse me, a role-based access list like permissions, roles, and the security, the granularity of application of these security goes even to the widget level. When I mean widget level, if there is, let's say, a text box which shows the date of birth of a particular person, and if that date of birth of an employee has to be seen only by, let's say, the manager or people with only a admin role, we can do that. We can actually let only users with a particular role see that, and for the rest of the users it can be hidden. So you can think about the granularity at which the security operates. It's at the widget level, then the page level, and application level as well. When you start creating your applications, one of the most important thing is how quickly you create your UI. So we have created automatic templates for you which can be applied on a particular page, so that you don't have to start building your UI itself. We allow creation or building your UI right from the scratch. But what you can do is, typically what our users I've seen is, they apply a template on a particular page. Let's say you are creating an employee profile page. You apply the employee profile template and customize it based on your your organization needs. And of course, the same thing can be done using mobile templates as well. Finally, once your application is ready, there is a single-click deployment to the cloud. So when I say single-click deployment to the cloud, I already told you about this. All the intricacies associated with provisioning the hardware, creation, installation of the software stack, all these things are taken care of by us. Right now, we support AWS. We also offer you a demo WaveMaker Cloud, no SLA-based single-click deployment. But we are in the process of starting to support Azure and a few other Google App Engine and other deployment vendors as well. And you will see, as we go ahead, you will see most of these other vendors also coming into the screen that you see here. So that's about the WaveMaker platform. So how do we, what are the different editions of the WaveMaker that we offer you currently? We offer you 2 editions, which is WaveMaker. WaveMaker, we typically have this APaaS-based delivery model, where we have moved away from a single installer-based development that we used to have for the desktop. Our commercial editions are primarily PaaS-based delivery models. And enterprises, WaveMaker Enterprise has much more bigger features in terms of addressing specific enterprises. We have something called an enterprise developer network. We also offer the WaveMaker Cloud which offers you an instant one-click deployment from our WaveMaker Studio, the WaveMaker RAD platform. And then there is, of course, the WaveMaker Online, which is essentially our public APaaS, where you can just go in anytime, register, and instantly start developing. So these are the two additions that we have. So it's not just that, we have actually much more to WaveMaker than just rapid application development. As I told you, we actually have our enterprise a developer network, which is a collaboration layer, which is available primarily only for WaveMaker Enterprise. And this, of course, WaveMaker Studio is what is our RAD platform, which is used for development. WaveMaker Cloud is an enabler for private cloud. You can actually quickly enable on the quickly create a private cloud in your own infrastructure. If you're an enterprise looking for a cloud within your enterprise, within your infrastructure, you can actually use the WaveMaker Cloud. And then we have a product called as WaveMaker Gateway, which is essentially an API management software. What it does is essentially, if you have an app application which actually has a lot of APIs, and if you have a lot of digital assets which are exposed through these APIs, API management software can help you in terms of a lot of API can get monetizing those APIs by exposing it to third party, security associated with those APIs, a lot many things like that. And of course, we have something called as Launchpad, which is essentially your administration console through which you can control almost all the products out there, like the Gateway, Cloud, and the Studio itself. So we are essentially, what we are doing currently is we are playing in these three different buzzwords in the IT world, which is the APIs, the cloud, and the rapid application development market, where you get an integrated solution, not just a development, but also the deployment and the further management of it. So we call it as the enterprise innovation infrastructure. That's where the systems of innovation comes into the picture. No more, not just developers, everyone with even a business person can come in and start operating on and creating the app all by himself. So that said, let's quickly get into a demo. I'll quickly show you how to create a responsive web application. If time permits, I'll also see if we can create a mobile application as well. But let me first start with the responsive web app, and you will be amazed to see how quickly we'll be able to create and deploy an application like that. So let me jump into that. So as I told you, we have WaveMaker Online is our public platform as a service environment. You can actually log in anytime and register there and get used to it. I'm going to use as a demo environment called Alan Scott, which we use for our demos. So once you log in, this is the dashboard where you will be able to this is the dashboard where you will see the project listings, all the projects that you have created, be it web project, be it employee mobile project, and of course these are the different places where you can quickly get started with a lot of help. And if you still have you can also use the chat application here that we have integrated it a couple of months back, where you can quickly start a chat with our backend support team and get answers to your questions immediately. So let's create an app. I'm going to start with creating a responsive web application. I'll just call it as the webinar demo. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create an employee profile application. So this is once you create an application, you will be able to modify a few things as per the like, for example, what is the package prefix you want. This is a Java package prefix that you can actually have. We support, of course, different languages out there. The locale support is there, and the main page. As of now, I would just say just go ahead with whatever you have, and once you get comfortable, you'll be in a situation where I can ask more questions as well. So this is how our what you see is what you get canvas looks like. And let me quickly take you through what is available here. This is the canvas that you can operate, that you will operate in. This is our library of widgets. We have a separate category of TB widgets that you'll see that gets filled in once you import a database. And we have something called as a prefabs. I think I'll quickly tell you what is a prefab. A prefab is something like it can be called as a micro application that can be created once and reused across multiple applications. It does a difference. For example, these are the prefabs that will be available for you out of the box. A Salesforce prefabs will be probably used for quickly integrating with the Salesforce application. Instead of using your APIs, we actually have a Salesforce prefab. Or do you want to show your own YouTube video? You can use the YouTube. So what is the need of a prefab? A prefab is not just yet another UI reuse tool. It's a micro application which actually not just has a user interface, but also has a backend associated with it. So the Salesforce prefab I showed you not just has a UI that you have defined to take in the properties of the Salesforce integration, but it also automatically has all the APIs that the Salesforce has to deal with, the Salesforce APIs that you have to deal with. In that way, all you need to do is at the end of the day is to just drag and drop the Salesforce prefab, and voila, you have a Salesforce integration immediately available out of the box. All right. So also, let's assume you see it also can be used as an integration where let's say you see a jQuery widget out there and you really like it, and which is not part of our default out of the box widget library. Let's say a clock widget. What you can do is you can use prefab. You can create a prefab to integrate with that particular clock widget as per the JavaScript excuse me, rules that the particular jQuery plugin defines for you, and then you can make it as a widget which can be dragged and dropped into your application. In that way, the ability of the WaveMaker Studio is far bigger. You can actually think of, you can just integrate with each and anything and everything out there. Whatever kind of UI you want, you can just integrate using the prefab and make it as a drag and drop widget. All right, so that's something like that. And of course, the top menu bar, you can see that you can create databases. Java services is the custom backend logic that you can write your own Java class there, security variables. We'll go through all these things as I create an application. Then of course you can integrate with existing services like web services, like APIs. Then you have your own database and images that you can want to import, all those things. And I think VCS is the version control system. Export, as I told you before, we are pretty open. There is no vendor login. You can export your project as a WAR or a zip file, and you can import. You can just, we are automatically Maven compliant. You go to Eclipse and import the project as a Maven compliant project, and within minutes you are ready to develop outside of the WaveMaker Studio. And so that being said, this is the canvas that we are operating. Right now, it is filled with some default details. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to change the layout. A page has a layout which defines the structure of the page. And once the structure is defined, you can apply different templates to it. I'll show you how it is done. So a structure of the page is, it can be a blank layout, or it can actually have the second one here is a header, content, and a footer. Or you can actually have a header, content, left navigational bar, and all those popular web layouts that you can typically see on an application is available out of the box for you. So let's see. Let me show you right away. I just selected a 3-column layout here. Here I just selected one which has just the top and the bottom, the header and the footer, and then of course there is a central part. So let me start with editing the name of the application itself. Once you double click on that, you will see that a new tab has been opened, and you can simply edit the application out there. The name, I'm just changed the heading as employee profile from calling it as web employee profile, and let me save it. Let's go back. You see that it's been you see that the values are reflecting instantly during the development time itself, that is during the design time itself. I would always suggest that once you have the higher level structural layout defined for a page, you start with something called as a grid layout, which can define each and which can allow you to position your widgets within the page. Grid layout is essentially divides your screen, or divides the portion in which you want to operate into multiple columns. So it uses Bootstrap in the background. You can define up to 12 different columns on the grid. At this moment, for this particular employee profile application, I'm going to have just one row of data, and I'm going to have 2 columns. By default, it starts with 3 columns, so I'm going to delete the 3rd column out there. And these 2 columns that we have, you'd see the grid column 1. I'm going to make it's of column with 4. I'm going to go along with that. And this grid column 2, which I've selected here, make it as 8. So now totally 4 plus 8, this row is filled with data. All right. So let's take a break from the UI and let's go and see how we can define the model first. Okay. I'm going to import a database into the application that can be reused. For that purpose, what I'm going to do is, and of course, these are the different databases we support at this moment. We support any other RDBMS system that you can use it from the other screen out here. For this particular demo, I'm going to use the sample database that we have. It's a simple employee database. It has 4 tables: department, employee, user, and verification. It's a simple self-intuitive UI wizard. You can just click next. Once you import these tables are going to be made available in your application as variables. You can define these variable names, but again, for this sake of this demo, I'm going to go ahead with whatever has been presented by default here. So I'm going importing this database with these 4 tables. What can you do with these imported database now? You can see that on the central part of the screen, the middle part of the screen, you see that we have automatically created widgets for you, DB widgets for you that can be used. It is a simple grid or a form, anything can be used there. You see that we have something called as a database designer, which presents you an enterprise relationship diagram. At this moment, I'm just going to go to your DB designer and show you how it exactly looks like. You see that there is an ER diagram out here. All right. All right. So let's come back. Now that we have created our database, which is the model layer, I'm going to come back to our presentation layer. And define an employee list, and I'll show you how easy it is to use it. I'm going to use something called as live list. A live list is a widget that can be used with any variable in the background, which can be which changes in the background. Let's say in this particular case, I'm going to use with the DB variables that has been created, which is the employee variable here. Now this is what I was talking about when I said about templates. Templates are out-of-the-box page templates available for you that you can use to jumpstart your application UI design. In this case, what I'm going to use is a simple grid layout, which actually presents me with a set with one picture and a couple of other text-based bindings that can be done. Now, once I select the layout, you can decide what each and every element in the layout actually is asking for. You can see that on the right part of the screen, this is how the layout is going to look like, and on the left side, I'm going to bind each and everything. So the first thing is I'm going to bind the picture with the appropriate data. We have something called as a pic URL. It's just a URL to the picture, and this picture actually has a title. I'm just going to use the first name column for the title, right? And for listing, I'm just going to use the picture, the first name, and I'm going to use it. I'm going to use let's say the job title. Done. The best part of WaveMaker is you can instantly run and see how it looks like. Let me run this and we'll build the application step by step. So the left part of the screen is more or less in place, and this is how your end user is also going to look like. Just for your the sake of the user, we also actually have it in different web responsive form factors so that you can see how it looks like in different devices. All right. So this is the screen. Now I just want to have the picture, the name, and the department, which is on the product manager, which is the title. I want to remove the rest of the items there. So I'm going to remove the badge. I'm going to remove the department. It's as easy as just clicking on that particular item and clicking on delete. I'm going to remove the mobile as well. Save it. You can go back to the screen and refresh the screen. You should be able to see the changes instantly. That's more like it. You can see that it's a picture with just these three details. Now, I want to take the next step. As and when I click each of these guys, I want to see the full details, the employee profile details of all these guys. So how do I do that? Let's go back to the designer. I want to use something called as live form. Drag and drop the live form into the second grid column. You see here, I'm dragging it and dropping it into the second column of the grid. Here again, when do you want to show this? This is the first way. So I want to show it as and when I want to show the selected item of a particular live list. So if I click on the on one particular employee, I want to see the details of the employee. So of the live list widget, the selected item of this particular live list widget is what we want to render it in the live form. Let's go ahead. I'll make it as read only. You can actually select again the template you want to see it. I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm going to use a one column template. I'm going to keep it as read only. And what are the details that you want to show? I want to show first name, last name, street, city, state. Or I'll just show the city. And I'm going to show the birth date. That's as easy as it can get. I'm done. I'm saving the project, and I'm going to run it again. You just go to the screen and just refresh the screen again. This is the runtime screen. So when I click on Eric, you can see the details of that particular employee immediately on the right side. Let's make this a little more interesting in nature. Let's see if we can actually bring in a map into this picture. For using the map, show two more features for you, which is how do I import an existing API? Okay, for that I'm going to use an API from openweathermap.org. This is the API that I'm going to use. This API, what it does is it takes in a zip code and it gives you the following details. It gives you the weather details, latitude, longitude, and other things. What I'm interested in is the latitude and the longitude details that I can actually show you in a map. Let's go ahead and see that. So first, I'm going to import this particular weather service API into my application. It's as simple as pasting that API, interactively testing it whether it's working fine or not. Yes, it is working fine. You can see that the data is coming out. Take the next step. I'm going to use this API just for getting the location. I'm just going to call it as get location API. And I'm going to import it into the application. Once it imports into the application, like the database, a variable gets created for this. You can see that this is the name of the variable it automatically created for this particular web service or the API. Now, go to the data. As and when someone clicks on a particular employee, I want to show the map corresponding to that particular employee. So what it means is this API takes a zip code as the input. Bind the zip code to the selected employee's zip code. And I'm going to bind it. Let's save this variable and let's go back to the UI design. I told you that, like, I promised you we're going to show you something of a usage of a prefab. Let's see if we can use the Google Maps prefab here. Let's make this a little more interesting. For each and every employee, I'm going to show you the map as well. And this map prefab takes in a latitude and longitude. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bind this latitude and longitude details that the Google Maps require to the latitude and longitude that comes out of the Open Weather Map API. Okay. So first is I'm going to bind the latitude to the latitude that comes out of the Open Weather Maps API and the longitude to that. That's as much as you can do, you need to do actually. All right, I think we are done. Let's run the application and see how it looks. I just refreshed. Okay. I just refreshed the screen again. When I click on Eric, you see that the map automatically goes and aligns itself to that particular map location that the Google Map API provides. All right, so we have a very nice looking application in place. What is missing out is a security aspects to it. I'm going to quickly show you how do I enable security and let the employees log in using a simple login screen. All right, so let's create a security module for this application. And what do I need to do that? Just do one click. I just have to enable the security. Now I need a login page. It's automatically there, ready for you. Nothing needs to be done for that. All right. Let's save this. Of course, there are roles and permissions and other things. I'm going to use the. If you actually see the security provider, I'm just using the demo security provider, which is available out of the box with WaveMaker, just for this particular demo. but feel free to use whatever you have from your side, like LDAP or whatever security provider that you may have. I'm just going to save this application and run it. You see that we have automatically created login page for you. Now the application can be accessed only if there is a user credential for you. Okay, so we have created two users. We have the demo security providers gives you two users, admin with an admin role. I'm just trying to log in with admin, just see how it looks like. Okay, so I just need to provide a logouts button for this. So for that, I'm going to use the top screen. I'm quickly going to create a logout button for you. Let's call that as logout. How do I log out? Do I need to write some code? No, you don't have to. All I need to do is I go to the Event Manager tab in the Properties panel, and I go to OnClick Event Handler and call something called as logout variable. This logout and login variable are automatically created for you when you enable security. Let's save this and quickly run the application again. So it's automatically logged in because the cookie was there already in the browser. Now I'm logging out. Once it's logged out, it automatically goes to the screen. I want to show you one final thing where I'm going to show you the power of roles and permissions, and then we can move on to the question answers. So let's make this interesting. In the admin role, I want to see, I'm able to see the birth date, which is let's assume it's a very private information. Only administrators can see that. But I don't want any user to see it. A user with a user role need not be seeing it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back. Let me close. I'm going to go to the design view. Go to click birth date. Go to the security part of the properties panel and say only users with role called admin can see this. No one else should be able to see the birth date. Save this. Let's run the application again. Right now, we are logged in as admin. That's why you're able to see the birth date. Let me log out and log in as a user. This time, I'm logged in as a user with a user role, not an admin role. You see, there is no birth date out there. Last but not the least, I'm going to deploy this application right now. I'm going to get it online instantly for you guys. I'm going to deploy it using our WaveMaker demo cloud. That's it. This app is deployed. And this app is live. And this is the URL you need to use. I'm going to share these URL with you guys so that you can actually take a look at. The URL will be shared by our organizer so that you can actually instantly go in and take a look. And the username password is simple. It's user, admin, admin. User is the guy with the user role. Admin is the user with the admin role. Feel free to go in and check it out. All right. Check out your the live application. You see that the power of RAD was in like full force. We actually created a usable application and deployed it as well in a matter of, let's say, I don't know, 10 minutes. If I was not probably talking with you guys, I would have done it in 5 minutes. Anyways, I have a set of, let's move on to the questions. I have a set of questions that have come in, and let's see if I can answer those things. Yeah, so for the first question is like, would it be possible for you to show and extract the WAR file for the application? See, the extraction itself is pretty straightforward. I don't have an Eclipse IDE or any other IDE at this moment, but the process is pretty straightforward. You just have to go to export, and you can actually you can actually see there are two profiles here. All right, these profiles. Say for example, if you are in a if you're developing the application, you are in that stage of the application lifecycle. You might have a set of databases. You'll have a set of test databases or development databases, or a set of test APIs and other things. All these things can be configured. You can go here, you can configure whatever you want, in a profile that you want to. The production profile might be different. You might be, you might be working with the production level databases and other things, but a development database is different. So input your details here, add all your APIs here, and once you are ready with that, all you need to do is just say project as WAR and as a development and download that. It will actually download a WAR file for you. And you can go into Eclipse, and this is automatically Maven compliant. All you need to do is just import the project as a Maven project inside Eclipse, and it should be ready instantly for you. The second question I have is, how about saving the page or forms and reusing them for another application? Is it possible? For that, what I would suggest is, there is a concept called as project shell. I'll show you that right now. Let me go back to the application dashboard. Even before that, there are multiple ways of handling this particular problem of reusing pages. So when you create your application, you see there is something called as project shell, right? You can create a project shell once you go into your project, you can save that project as a project shell so that it can be reused as a template project later on when you create a new project. You can save your project as a project shell. So you can actually save a project with one particular page with that particular template and reuse it across projects. That's the first way of doing things. The second is, you create a prefab with a particular page, with your own designs, with your with some customizations, and use the prefab again and again in every application that you want to. That is the second way of reusing pages across applications. I hope that answered your question. Third question is, any options available for caching APIs for browser apps and server-side apps? So for this, I would pass on the mic to Venu, who is our platform director, who can. There is a technical answer, is a slightly technical answer to this question, so he is going to answer you that.
Hi everyone. So I mean, for the caching, right, it depends on whether you are using third-party APIs or you are using the APIs generated out of your application. So for DB and all these things, actually Hibernate already enables you first level caching, and we are in plans in integrating Hibernate second level caching in the application itself. So you can either enable second level option, second level caching or not, based on your application needs. The other one is all the API requests that are coming from your application, that is from the browser to the backend, are already using a funda called e-tags, which actually sets an e-tag value for the content that you are sending. So what happens is when the further request comes from the browser sends the previous e-tag value for the same request. So that way what happens is server side we try to compare the data. If there is no change in the data that has to be returned, then we'll just send 304 as the header, which means that use the existing cached content so that the payload optimization is happening. But your request will be validated in the server every time. Hope that answers your question.
So the next question is, please show integrations of any service with WaveMaker. See, right now there could be, see, first, it's a very question. So services can be APIs or web services, and any service or API that is REST based or SOAP based, with SOAP and WSDL based, and REST and JSON based, or REST and WSDL XML based, anything, you can actually import the web service into our platform, as I showed you how I did for the Open Weather API. On top of that, we also have a lot of prefabs which are integrated. You can see that you can instantly enable the OAuth login with Google, Facebook, and LinkedIn with our prefabs. We have existing integrations with Salesforce, YouTube, and Google Maps, FB Post. We also are in the process of publishing services like email sending services, and all those things are available as prefabs. Scheduler based prefabs and all those things are available. We are just in the process of publishing them so that everyone can actually go ahead and access those things. Hope that answered your question. The second question is, the next question is, if you want to integrate with other CRM apart from what you guys have provided for Salesforce, then how to do it? And after developing it, can I publish it in a prefab? The answer is yes, you can publish it into your prefab. But if you are integrating the CRM, I believe it's going to be a much more bigger application. So what you can do is, instead of prefab, you can actually store it as a project shell instead of a prefab. Prefab is like a micro application, but project shell is the entire application itself. That's the second part of your answer. The first part of the answer is, can I integrate with any other CRM? Yes, your answer is yes, as long as the CRM that you are going to integrate with has either a REST-based or a SOAP-based APIs, or it has its own SDKs, Java SDKs that can be imported into the system. We provide comprehensive support for SDKs and REST APIs and web service APIs. The next question is, from hybrid mobile app perspective, does WaveMaker have custom Cordova plugins? What we are doing is, yes, from a hybrid mobile application perspective, we use the Cordova layer to actually create your installable applications. If your question is, can you create custom Cordova widgets on top of it? The answer would be yes. Again, as I told you, you can integrate third-party widgets into your application using prefabs. All you need to do is just follow the JavaScript rules that defines that particular UI plugin, and then integrate it into the prefab, and that can be reused as a drag and drop widget anywhere in any application. I hope that answered your question. The next question is, does WaveMaker have custom enterprise app store for mobile application deployment, especially for iOS and Android? No, the answer is at this moment no, but we are in the process of creating it, and I showed you in your application architecture that we have an app store integration which is coming up. Stay tuned, it's in the roadmap, it's in the near future, and I will let you guys know as and when it is available. The next question is, how can we do API management for enabling third-party developers to consume services? API management for enabling third-party developers. See, you need to for doing API management. I don't know. I'm not able to get the exact question here, but I'm going to give you two answers. First is the assumption that, how do I expose the existing the auto-created APIs of the project that you are creating? For that, you guys have to use the API designer. On the left side, there is something called as the API designer. I did not go through it intentionally because it's a slightly advanced topic. For each of these database services, we automatically create CRUD APIs, as you can see on the screen. All these APIs can be, excuse me, can be, right now it's only app only, unavailable, it can be used at the app only. We have not yet enabled for private and public. But if you want to enable it for consumption by external apps, the private and public, you have to use our API gateway product, which is the API management product that we have. Once you use it, you have comprehensive enterprise grade API management functionalities for your application. The last question we have is, are you updating your pricing and packages? Yes, I wanted to do that as an announcement in any case. Yes, we are updating our pricing, which is much more competitive and much more, in a way where we're going to see a lot many happy users out there. We are getting into a model where we are not just going to restrict you with the number of apps you create. We are going to have a much more generous model in terms of the applications that you're going to create. Stay tuned for this. This pricing will be out this month. It can have. We are just aggressively working with our technical team in the to get the pricing related changes ready, and then probably in a week or two, worst case by the end of this month, you will see the pricing changes in place. I believe I think that's all the questions that we have. We thank you all for sparing your time and attending this webinar. If you have any other questions, go to wavemaker.com and go to the contact page of the wavemaker.com and write to us from there. Go to the contact page. Please write to us. Fill in your inquiry. Please write to us. We will be getting back to you as soon as possible. Any other questions? If you have any other queries about other products that we have or the WaveMaker Enterprise Edition, any other technical questions, feel free to ask from here, and we'll get back to you immediately. Thank you all. Thank you one and all. Thank you for spending your time, and I hope you'll have fun using WaveMaker and creating awesome apps. Thank you very much.